All truth is not kind to hear. There's a bitter truth as well as a sweet truth. Jesus said in John 8:32, you shall know the truth. And there's one thing about the truth, it will make you free. And the first thing you need free is your mind. Greetings to each and every last one of you. Hey, this is Pastor Dowell. I appreciate you listening here tonight to Blog Talk Radio, and I appreciate your continued support and the letters that you send to me. However, the listening audience is growing, and there are more people interested in helping me get the truth out. If you would like to support me in these endeavors to help advance the kingdom of the Most High Yahweh, I have some information for you. For your correspondence or letter support, you can send all correspondence to Pastor Charles Dowell. That is Pastor Charles Dowell, D-O-W-E-L-L. Dowell is spelled D-O-W-E-L-L Jr. That's 632 Highway 52 Bypass West, PMB number 1. PMB number 1, Lafayette, Tennessee, 37083. Let me give you all that information again. You can send all your correspondence and your letter support to Pastor Charles Dowell Jr. And Dowell is spelled D-O-W-E-L-L at 632 Highway 52 Bypass West, PMB number 1, Lafayette, L-A-F-A-Y-E-T-T-E, Tennessee, 37083. Our community phone number is country code 1-615-688-3025. That is country code 1-615-688-3025. If you choose to send a free will offering, please send it in either a money order or a check form. A money order or a check form. If you choose to send cash in the mail, you may want to put some type of insurance on it, or you may want to wrap it up real good and tight and get some type of delivery confirmation in order to ensure that your particular offering gets to me. Hey, I appreciate each and every last one of you that are listening, and I hope that you're growing in grace, truth, and knowledge as we hasten towards the day of the soon-coming King, Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Hey, y'all be encouraged, and I'll see you Shabbat morning. Be the Father's will is my prayer at www.online-church.org, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's every Sabbath morning at www.online-church.org. Y'all be encouraged. Continue to keep listening and tell others about this particular radio broadcast so that we can all continue to keep growing together. Y'all be encouraged. The King is coming. Shalom.
Pastor Dowell, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you very well.
Okay, good. Everybody, this is Mr. Pastor Dowell. How you doing this evening, sir?
I am blessed, doing well, highly favored. All things is going pretty good. Just got finished with the Feast of Tabernacles, so we're in high spirits and everything is going fine. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine tonight, man. I'm just enjoying my city life, trying to get the heck out the city. I want to talk about that in a little bit in the show. But first of all, you are pastor of Straitway Truth, and please tell our audience a little bit about yourself, sir.
Well, I grew up in a traditional American home like anybody else would. I lived in, suburbs and stuff like that. And then later on, I guess I was about 18 years old, I joined the military, where I sought out to be, matter of fact, I was a United States Army paratrooper, had many special skill identifiers, a few things. And then later on in life, probably about when I was 26, 27 years old, about, being in 10 years in the military, I had an experience with Jesus Christ. And that charted and changed my whole course to the point where I'm at now. And I started reading the Bible for myself. I grew up in, your traditional home, being a Christian and everything. And so I started reading the Bible for myself. Then I found out that the Bible wasn't Christian at all. As a matter of fact, it had to do with a particular people called the Israelites or the Hebrews. So I started doing my due diligence and started doing my own independent research. Come to find out that I'm actually a part of the people that actually fit that book. So I started reading the book of Acts to see how that we should be doing these things, because after all, I mean, if you're going to figure out what's going on in life, what better way to what better way to go about how to take care of life than to take counsel from those who actually came from the Messiah himself, Jesus Christ. So I started looking at them, looking at their motto and stuff, and it's clearly laid out in the book of Acts. And so now I live out here on probably about 40 acres, care or take probably 60 acres of land. Have a few other lands in different other places in the United States. And I'm about building communities so people can live in quiet, peaceful, separated life, getting back to the old paths pretty much. I've been married for 30 years, Sister Carol. I got 2 grown children, one 27 old, I think is 24 years old. One of them graduated from Western Kentucky University. Both of them was homeschooled.
Yes,
and I had an academic scholarship while being there. My wife has done an excellent job in the homeschooling department, and myself being a pastor and everything, I was pretty much the board of education, if you understand what I mean.
But of course, that you educated them, and you were the one who did it, and you know what they were being taught. Exactly.
So other than that, that's where I'm at right now in life. The ministry is thriving. People are growing in grace and knowledge and truth, and I'm a little bit different than the Christian people out there. I actually believe in, survival, self-preservation, all the things that, the skill sets and everything that the scriptures teach, I believe in, and I try my best to be an example to the people out there and to do the same for anyone else who has the ears to hear.
Yeah, and that's what I respect about what you do with your group and what you do and what you talk about in your YouTube videos, because I'd say about 90% of the mainstream Christians, your Benny Hams, whoever that dude is, your Rick Warrens, your Cleflo Dollars, the mainstream really don't teach that stuff. And there was a segment on the mp4 show which they talked about at least 90% of churches know that the Bible does teach self-sufficiency, but they don't teach it so they can get that tax-exempt status. So another reason I respect you is you talk about the real on the Israel and Gaza conflict. I talk about that all the time as well, and the Palestinians and the Africans who get oppressed there as well. So I'm glad you have a different perspective on that as well, because too many people are pro-Israel, which is, I get where that comes from, but I mean,
Well, the pro-Israel thing, the majority of people in this country, Chad, is greatly misinformed. And the information that they're giving out, i.e. the mainstream news media and other outsources and stuff, is definitely disproportionate. Most people are thinking that when they see this Israel that has been created under the League of Nations by Great Britain and the United States of America, they just automatically make the word association, okay? Israel, okay, over here today, Israel in the Bible, and they just assume that these are the same people of the book, but they are making a grave mistake. And most people don't want this information out. They do not want this information out because, truth has a way of penetrating through the lies and breaking through the darkness, because after it's been pressed down for so many centuries, all it takes is just one voice out there to voice the truth, and then it starts to spread like wildfire, and people begin to catch it, and it catch on and stuff. So those of us who are also patriots in nature, we may sound crazy and crackpots and kooks at the beginning, but then later on, when the conspiracy theory is no longer theory, but it's fact,
it's fact.
Start paying attention.
Exactly. And that's why I respect you, because too many people don't know the truth, don't want to know the truth, and just think it's just, nothing's wrong with it. I mean, I don't give, Islamic extremism a pass either. I talk about both, but Israel's just not a fairy tale ponyland, man. So that's just my pet peeve with them. Like, they're speaking as if they're victims, but they have freaking nuclear weapons. So.
I agree with you 100%, Chad. It's amazing of the hypocrisy that is going on amongst the nations, especially those that rule the world today. It seems like every time you turn around, that we want to put sanctions and we want to micromanage and do everything we can against the Palestinians. But then the same people who have all the firepower in the world, which is the United States of America, and then their allies, Israel and stuff, who are supporting. I mean, they have well over easily 100 nuclear weapons, and I'm being very modest and very conservative in my calculations here.
Right.
And all of a sudden you have all these nations and stuff that they want to put a finger on the Palestinians or the Arabs or the Iraqis or anybody else that want to develop what they call the alleged weapons of mass destruction. But then all of a sudden nobody goes in to see about the people coming in and putting sanctions on these people for actually having the actual weapons of mass destruction, which actually creates a lot of collateral damage amongst the civilian population.
Exactly, and don't forget the sterilization of Ethiopian women in Israel as well. They don't want to talk about that either.
Well, they want to talk about it because, when you're going back over to Solomon, now King Solomon stuff, who actually married, had a relationship with the queen of Ethiopia and ended up having a son. And then, most people don't understand that there's a genocide going on against the chosen people of Yah, according to the scriptures. But truth is very unpopular today. But like I said it once, said 1,000 times. It's been pressed down for so long, but now it's just like it's too much pressure. It's too much pressure starting to rise up to the top, and people are starting to get that we've been had, we've been duped, and we've been deceived.
Right. Yeah. Another thing I like about you, you have a staunch position against police and everybody else. I saw your videos on the Mike Brown case. I saw your videos about the cop that got killed, but there were so many cops trying to look for this one cop just because he had a badge on. So, what's your perspective on the police brutality, the protests that are going on? Do you think what's your opinion on that?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what I think is going on today. I think that the people in our country have literally lost its way. As a matter of fact, we have given so much attention and so much time to pleasure and sport that we have actually had our own government swept right out from under our feet. You see, the government today has forgotten that the people, and the people as well has forgotten that we are the ones who are the masters of the government. And now we have what you call disproportionism through too much government. And whenever you have too much government, you have tyranny. And when you have tyranny, you have a nation nation dependent upon socialism or dependent upon every facet of the government. So right. It's all serfs. And that's exactly what's going on today. We have people today that have no idea. They're totally illiterate of not only of reading and writing and comprehension, but they're totally deceived and totally messed up when it comes to history. They do not know that if you continue to do the same things that has already been done from the past, you make the same mistakes, we're going to continue to keep perpetuating and doing the same things over and over again.
Over and over again.
We're dealing with a government that is entirely too big, and it's no longer a government that was established by the founding fathers, of the people, for the people, and by the people, as laid out in the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution. We're dealing with a hijacked country, Chad. That's exactly what we're dealing with today. And, it's one person at a time that we're waking up, but I fear, and my greatest fear is that there's just too little of us too late.
Now, my question is to you, and I know you have a different perspective on this. Do you think it's a pandemic of black people getting killed by the police, or do you think it's a problem? Because I think there's a big difference there. What do you think?
I'll give you my biblical answer on that, which is according to Psalms 83. Psalms 83 in the Bible, and of course, you can expect this answer from me as a pastor in itself. It pretty much lays out the blueprint of what's going on with these nations right here. And I keep using the term disproportionate, but what we have is we have all these people consulted together in one consent. Now, I will submit this to you, Chad. This is what I will submit. I will submit, how in the world can 10% of the population, that means the black people, even the Latinos, actually have more people on this land, on this soil and race than we do? They have 13%. And then that means the rest of the nation is pretty much left up to the Caucasians. But how is it that 10% of the people of this land, out of 370 million people on this soil, is responsible for over 85% of the crimes that is going on, filling up 75% of the jails? I think that there's actually a genocide, a social, a political, and an economic genocide against these people who were brought over here to this land against their own will and being taught by the laws of this land.
Oh, you want me? Oh, you can keep going. I want to say something too, but if you keep going.
Yes, sir. And that's where my perspective comes from in this, because I have a mixed congregation here, and everybody knows out there, and I'm not playing my best friend is white or my best friend is black card either. I'm actually just telling the truth as it is. I have a mixed congregation here, all highly intelligent people. As a matter of fact, I will probably say 65% of my congregation all have a college degree, both consisting of black and white alike. And that means that these are people who are actually intelligent, thinking people, as well as the people who chose to actually, do the certifiable, which is to stay home and to raise their children and to guide their house, which is the mothers of the land, which we thank the Father for. But I think that there is a serious genocide, the same genocide that is going on in the Congo by China, and the Congo, and they're exploited by the Europeans, as well as the European nations that also are attacking the Palestinians and the Iraqis, and making a run on Afghanistan, which are not going to be successful. Genghis Khan wasn't successful, so I don't think that these people are going to be successful either. I don't care how much conventional warfare weapons that they have. But to get back to your questions, I'm inserting these for a reason, is that I'm trying to paint a picture here to get the people to understand and see exactly what's going on. We were brought over here on slave ships in the transatlantic slave trade in 1619. And we were illiterate. We was actually brought over here against our will, sold by another people called the Hamites, not the Shemites. And it's utterly amazing to me how that when we were so-called set free under the Emancipation Proclamation, that we ourselves are responsible for all the crimes, but we're not the one that traffic the drugs in. We are not the people that actually hold seats in the majority of the House and the Senate. And yet and still, by the time everything trickled down, there's this old saying we used to say in the military, crap rolls downhill. When everything trickles down, all of a sudden we're the ones that's responsible for all the debauchery. We're the ones responsible for all of the killing, the murder, and the rape, and the genocide in society. It's just hard for me to accept that fact, especially being an educated man and knowing exactly what's going on.
All right, but my only pet peeve is that, the reason for black and Latino men going to prison is mainly because of the war on drugs. It's mainly because of the war on drugs and certain laws that have been put in place. But I believe that that's not just about race. I think that's about economics too, because if we had the economics, everything right, they couldn't do that, and we can get the lawyers and people like that to protect the black people and the Latino people in the inner city and the areas like that. But the reason why the whites and the Asians get away from more because they have more money and more community. But that's my perspective on why there's a majority of which is unfair, and yes. And you're exactly right about the government putting the drugs and the guns in the community. I think they're making a new movie about that soon. I forgot the name of it, but do you know what I'm talking about?
No, sir. But I like to comment on that because, the main question or the mainstay is the question should be presented to everybody out there that's listening today is this. Who is the one or who are the ones responsible for the drugs being shipped in to this country? Is it the blacks? Is it the Latinos? Is it the minority of the people? Or is it the ones who are in the majority or colonial rule? And when you find out the ones who are actually, because these people do just like Satan do. You have all these people committing all these crimes, all these atrocities, but there's a figure that is bigger than the people that is out front being caught and had, that is actually the mover and the shaker and the control of the puppet master of everything that is going on.
No, but I agree with you, but I don't think that you have to take that drug or get that gun. I mean, I understand they're flooding that crap in, but I don't think you have to take it yourself. I think you can deny it and withhold yourself.
I agree 100% because I think the problem that we're having in our society today is a lack of spirituality. When you have a lack of spirituality, meaning where mankind can be governed by laws, rules, and regulations, I'm talking about divine laws, rules, and regulations, divine laws, rules, and regulations. The people have no governor on them, and if there's nothing on their conscience that's telling them what is right and what is wrong, we're going to do like the prophet Isaiah said, that we've entered into the time where people will call good evil and evil good.
Okay. You're exactly right. I like how you're using scripture, you're using your views to emphasize what your points are, because you're actually practicing what you preach. You actually know what it's about, because too many people say they just don't. I mean, we got so many stories of pastors and so many stories of clergy and people having these affairs in church, taking money, So I think you're an excellent example of how pastors can be good and actually teach self-sufficiency about the Bible. So I thank you, sir, for doing it.
Well, you're welcome, Chad. I actually have no opinion about anything. Everything that I preface here tonight, albeit in the interview, even YouTube videos, they all have an undertone of what the scripture says. It's just that a lot of people today have no idea what scripture say. I just present facts. And the conviction comes is because the word is quick and powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword. So when it begins to pierce and when truth is presented in the right light, when it's presented in a way that people can comprehend and understand, it's hard for people to argue or kick or fight against, because the conscience in itself, man's own conscience, they can discern between what is good and what is evil, what is right and what is wrong. So I try my best to steer far from my opinion. And if I do have opinion, I do make it very clear that this is my opinion, but I try to stick with facts.
Yeah, and also, I still wanted to just get on that question. Because what I feel from this is that I know the statistics say every 28 hours a black man is killed by police, but I just don't like how the media seems to push every narrative that every black man that gets apprehended or assaulted by police is an imbecile. Every person is innocent, which 313 black males get killed every year. But I just don't like how they try to paint everyone as either being innocent or it's unjustifiable. And also, I just don't believe that it's pandemic. Like, there's thousands of black males dying by police. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Well,
do you think the media is pushing that?
Well, yes, sir. I agree with you 100%. As a matter of fact, what they're doing is playing on the mental psyche and the feelings and emotions of people. And of course, racism is one of the cards that the powers that be play in order to try to get people to have a guilty complex or a guilty conscience about themselves. Now, most people, I assume that you are a white man. Is that correct, Chad?
No, I'm a black man, sir.
All right. Well, okay. Well,
Lord, Mr. Dowell, come on, brother.
Well, you sound a little bit different here over the telephone. It's kind of hard. That's why I asked the question. Okay, and the reason why I say that is I ask this question is this, because I live in a redneck town. I know what a redneck town is. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and they say it's the home of the country and all like that, but it's still, a lot of inner city problems and everything else like with everybody else. But what I'm getting to is this. I grew up in a redneck town, and most people that are white in this country will never understand what it means to be a black man living in a redneck town of 22,000 people, and you're the only black preacher up here. And when you go to Walmart, people look at you with disdain. People view you with disdain. They begin to clutch their purses. They begin to look at you with an attitude, or they're running in fear simply because of the color of your skin. And it's amazing. But at the same time, we can go to a football game and cheer on the Tennessee Titans and stuff, which has a football team which consists of 80% of black people.
Exactly.
And to say with that, I just don't understand this kind of attitude or spirit. I believe with all my heart that no doubt the powers that be who understand psychological warfare is all just about completed the destruction of the human mind, be you black or white.
So you're saying that they're using that to play in the heartstrings of people and to get people riled up. Is that what you were trying to say?
Well, yes, sir. Because I'm of the conscious, and of course my conscience may be alternate, which I understand that. But again, I'm of the conscious. That which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of spirit is spirit. And no doubt those that are born of the flesh, they will think a certain way, and those that are born of the spirit, they will perceive and think a certain way. But when you're born of the water and of the spirit, then you'll all have one conscience, and that conscience is a right conscience. And it makes no difference to me, be you black, white, red, yellow, blue, purple, green, or brown. You would always acknowledge the truth and never sweep it under the rug and hide it.
Yeah, and I also like that you believe you're a Second Amendment person. That's what I like when you said one thing and you meant it, that every black person needs to have a weapon on. Needs to be pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment. Why do you think so many black people or in the black community seem to be anti-gun? Why do you think this is? Why do you think in our community that's going on?
Well, because they've been had by the Democratic Party. The majority of the black people, again, and I hate to say this, and I don't mean anything by it, but I'm stating facts here. The majority of the black people, they are stupid, illiterate, and uninformed as to history and what is going on today. But see, they don't understand that the Democratic Party is probably one of the most racist parties that there is. And so when you bite of the fruit of lies, such as, what Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, or any of these Democrats are selling this stuff.
White liberals.
Exactly. All they're doing is continue to perpetuate the problem against our own people in this society. When you accept the fact that you are an African American because they give you this designation and stuff, you can only function according to what they tell you you are. And that's exactly what has happened today. So it's amazing how everybody else can carry a gun and it'd be fine and good, but when a black man gets a gun in his hand, something is wrong. Again, I go back to history. And on this soil and on this land, there has never been more evils perpetuated against the people of my color, of what they call today my race, than the black man. And if you can actually obtain a gun and be able to carry a gun to protect yourself against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I would say that you are actually fulfilling the Bible according to Luke 21:36. And you should continue to actually exercise your Second Amendment right, which is not even literally a right. As a matter of fact, it's your freedom. It's your liberty that is granted unto you simply because you are a living, breathing man.
And what people and what the left doesn't really want to talk about, and this is what I only heard from white conservatives, is that we had militias, we had our own neighborhoods, but we still had militias and economics together to defend ourselves from Klansmen, from evil racist white Southerners during that time. You had Robert F. Williams, you had the Deacons of Self-Defense, you had neighborhoods, communities that were defending themselves and arming themselves against these evil racist white men. And they don't want to paint that narrative, they don't want to push that narrative. So, and this was 50 or so years ago.
Well, I mean, you just quoted facts. You just stated facts, as a matter of fact. Look at the change, what they've done with us, Chad, here. Check this out. The Constitution states a well-regulated militia is necessary for a free state. It is necessary. But then when you look at the government today, what have they done? They turned around and tried to make you think that people who are organizing in their own townships, their own parishes, in their own land, they've turned around and placed it into the minds of these people that whenever they're functioning outside of the scope of government, they have painted these people as vigilantes. And I think that there's not only a literal war physically going on, but there's a psychological war that is going on that is taxing the minds of the people.
You're exactly right, sir, and I'm glad that everything's on it. You spitting out hot fire tonight, sir. But let's go to a musical break for a minute. Folks, we have Mr. Pastor Dowell with us on the chat factor tonight. Mr. Dowell, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am. Thank you.
We just talked about guns and and gun control and what they're pushing and what the narrative is. And I still feel like with all they're trying to say that the guns should be getting rid of because you got white racists who believe in the Second Amendment and all the people on that side are racist, but at the same time they want to stop black people from having them to defend themselves against these racists. So it's like some people say only cops should have racist. All cops are racist, but only cops should have guns. You see what I mean?
Yes, sir. You know, according to history, a long time ago, people policed themselves in small towns and stuff, and then the people themselves elected a sheriff, which he appointed a couple of deputies, which even still till today, the sheriff is the highest authority in each county.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the racism, I think that we've been diverted. I think we've been diverted in a major way because while they're trying to pit, I mean, you think about this, if there was a race war, there really truly is no race war if we follow the narrative or the line of thinking that the way that they're trying to perpetuate it against us today, because we are seriously, as black people in this country, outnumbered 9-1 when it comes to that. So therefore, there can't be really a war against what they will call racism because of the color of skin. I'm going to tell you what I believe to be the real true racism is. I think the real true racism is the 1% of the people who dominate, rule, and control this world that have all of the money or the rich against the poor. I think that is the racism that is really truly is going on today in this world, in this land, and what they're doing in order to perpetuate their kingdom is to make sure that we fight against each other. And I think that people have bitten of the fruit of lies because they're literally just many of them too inept, or they're listening to the wrong people to continue to keep playing the powers that be their game.
Exactly right. But one thing that I also don't like is, and this is what I'm always going to say, you know, I heard your experience about living in a redneck county. You know, I know there's areas in the South that are bad, and you should always protect yourself. But I don't like how people always seem to say the South is the most racist and the most racist place you can ever live in. But when you go up north, like Boston, D.C., Maryland, I've been pulled over way more there than down south. Do you think police brutality is more in the Midwest or north and the South, or do you think in California, do you think it's even the way around? Because I believe it's like up north, California, Midwest. What do you think?
I think that people are literally being mind controlled. And I think that they've had a lot of things sold into them by the people who have gone on before them. A lot of racism has been put into these people and stuff. But I see a change going on in this country. But it's hard for people to get past the people who are actually writing their paychecks, the rich. And I will continue to keep going back to that over and over again, because this is rich men oppressing the poor and using the poor for their own political as well as physical gain. I believe that this is what the real true racism is about and what it's over. But when you look at far as the killing and the murder, hey, let's just go ahead and tell the truth. There's just as many white people, white-on-white crime, there's people that are dying today as there are black-on-black crime. It's just that it's reported more in the mainstream news media is because these nations are confederate at destroying us as a people. And that's the reason why I continue to keep going back to Psalms 83, because it lays it out and it tells us exactly what's going on, since I believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, after reading the prophecies of the book, that we are the people who fit the book, the black people. That is written about us here and the prophecies of that book, especially when you read Deuteronomy 28. And I know that these nations have not stopped in their quest at our destruction. It's like the Freemasons. Many of them, it depends on what lodge you go into, they bring in a black guy and say, this is your master, and if you want to stay on top, keep him oppressed. Now, most lodges in the Masonry, whether it be the Scottish Rite or the York Rite, they don't want that kind of information getting out, because you get that kind of information out and stuff, then that means that they're going to have their bowels cut open and stuff and throw it out into the middle of the sea, and I can go on and on and on. when it comes to the occult or the New World Order.
New World Order.
This is what really truly is taking place. This is a battle between Almighty Yahweh, the King, the Creator of the universe, and the Hasatan, and we as human beings. Be you black or white, wherever you are, humanity are kind of like pawns in this game right here. And if you choose to pick the evil side, which is the Hasatan or Satan himself, then you're going to continue to keep falling for the same old destruction, the same old destruction.
Right, but what I was trying to ask you was the narrative, because there is stuff that goes down south, and I agree with you about what you're saying about the rich versus the poor and the New World Order. What I'm trying to say is, when people say it's better up north, but all these incidences, Eric Garner, Mike Brown, Sean Bell, Oscar Grant, all these things of police brutality seem to happen mostly in California, in states where it's more government control and more police brutality. Do you think, when people say the South is the worst place, do you think they have a point, or do you think they're drinking the Kool-Aid?
No, I think that it's just making full circle, because you remember black babies used to be used as gator bait down in Florida. And of course, we can go on and on with the lynchings that took place in the South. And I think that the North is just now experiencing what the South used to experience, except it's being done on a political scale, because people are more educated today than what they were back then. You see, it used to be a time we were forbidden to read and write. Now we can read and write and comprehend, but since the North didn't experience all of this racism that the South experienced, now they're beginning to, go full circle and experience all the weight and the heaviness that is taking place today. And if you notice, the majority of the states today that all of this stuff is taking place in, the majority of them, I didn't say all of them, but the majority of them are places where they have actually stripped the guns out of those citizens' hands.
Thank you, sir. Keep going.
And that's just like when you look at it, gun violence. You look at Chicago, the alleged, and we'll play this game, the alleged home of Barack Hussein Obama, who just happened to be the so-called winner of the Nobel Peace Prize while he's been bombing the hell out of all of these independent countries.
Hypocrite.
And it's just a literal shame, because when you look and see what's going on, you see these particular states right here that have taken and they're regulated, and there's more death that is going on in Chicago. There's more death that is going on in Illinois. As a matter of fact, they have pretty much become the death capital of the world. And they have this so-called moral religion up there called Islam, which is another faction of Islam.
You talking about the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got it. And when you look and see what's going on, it's really a joke. It's a screaming factor, because here in Tennessee, they call us a bunch of gun bunnies. And we don't have the crime rate. Now, we've got crime rate. Don't get me wrong. We've got some serious crime rate. But we have nowhere near the crime rate that is taking place in Illinois and in New York.
New York, Chicago, the DMV, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, California, all the major cities.
All the major cities where
Atlanta.
They're actually taking the guns out of the people's hands.
Right. And that's the main point, because it just gets tiresome of them being hypocrites and saying, get rid of guns, but even if you get rid of the guns, the crime rate still goes up and up and up and up and up, and you can't defend yourself. That's just what's the narrative.
All you got to do is look at England, look at Australia, look at all the countries that so-called adopted this position of guns are evil, guns are evil, guns are wrong, guns should be in people's hands. And look at the crime rate that has gone up, and that statistics in itself would tell you that every single individual, be you man or woman, needs to have a gun in their house. They need to have a gun on their person.
And the police ain't going to come there fast. It takes them maybe, I think Dan Luce said this on Fox News. They live in the country. This is a woman conservative from Fox News, from the Blaze. She said it took the police 30 minutes to get to her house sometimes. No, 20 minutes. 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes too long for a burglar that could break in and kill you.
That's true. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm glad that where I live at, I'm talking about not just where I live at on my community, I'm talking about the county that I live in. There's probably an average of 5 firearms for every household in this county.
Hey.
I think we're pretty safe.
Yes, sir. You gotta be. But 5 guns for every household, that's insane, man. That's good protection right there. You don't need the police for that or the sheriff.
But, you know, if you take a look at our daily newspaper or our weekly newspaper that come out in this county, when you look at the crime that people are getting arrested for up here, the people out there in these cities will literally laugh at. DUI, 7 offense.
Right.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost something to laugh at, and it's only a few isolated incidents here and there. And that's the reason why I advocate people getting out of these cities. Get out of these cities, get away from these cities, and move way out far away from these cities because, the Bible is true. Over and over and over again, how in the world, why do we end up in a bunch of sin, iniquity, and transgression? Why did y'all destroy a bunch of cities? It's because of the sin and the evil that was in it.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So you're saying that these cities are having that because of that, and you're not recommending anybody living in these major metropolitan cities at all because it's gun control, because it's so much chaos. So get more a little bit into why people should get out of these major cities.
First of all, if you're going to be anybody that follows the scripture, follow the Bible whatsoever at all, and if you understand the actual Hebrew people in itself, because, the scriptures clearly said that every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. You'd understand that the Hebrew people were a shepherd people. They were people who raised crops, who raised cattle, and you can't do that in the cities. The cities, every time you think about these great empires, these world empires, be they Egypt, which is Mizraim, or Babylonian or Babylon, the Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans. And when you start thinking about these people, all these were major empires in major cities where major sin was going on. When we're out here, we don't have all the distractions that people have in the cities, and we can keep our focus and our center of attention on the one who provides for us, which is Almighty Yahweh himself. When our center of attention focuses up on him, then we can get back to doing the things that our ancient forefathers did. And that's what I advocate to people in order to learn how to live a quiet and peaceful life, especially a life away from all this sin, this hell, this death, and the devil that's going on in the world today. We have problems with men looking at another man and having serious confusion understanding what they should do. They should understand and know that a man wasn't created to lie with a man, but a man with a woman. But you look at these cities, they're quickly turning into the prophecies, what Yeshua HaMashiach said, of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we're going to be destroyed. Not like they were with water in the days of Noah, but the prophecy said we're going to be destroyed by fire, because fire is the only thing that can destroy something, and it does not ever remain in its present state.
So basically, things are going to go downhill anyway. It's basically a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. People don't have morals anymore, because I live in Atlanta right now.
Oh, okay. Boy. You already know.
Let's talk about that, brother. Because you just said, oh, boy. But, hey, to all my brothers out here who may have a different taste in gender, I don't care. Do your thing. But what I don't like is they're trying to push the homosexuals with the black people, and they're trying to say that we both have the same struggle, and that's BS to me. And I don't like the agenda they're trying to push on people. And yes, I am trying to move out of Atlanta. I'm trying to move into the country. So you recommend people to move out the country, basically, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dowell?
Yes, sir. And let me tell you something. Don't fall for that agenda. Nobody does. Because these homosexuals, the problem with them is that, see, they have a guilty complex and a guilty conscience, and they seek acceptance. That's the reason why they're looking to go to government and the Supreme Court and looking for a rite of passage for their perverse lifestyle that they're living. And the only way that God's people are going to be spared from this if they follow the pattern when they see it happen in the book, is get out of these perverse areas, get out of these cities, because these cities are going to be destroyed by fire. If it happened once, it's going to happen again.
Okay, but I'm just saying they can do whatever they want. I got friends who think that way. It doesn't matter to me. I just don't want to push or anything on me or my friends or make me like it and love it. That's why I just, TV. And now they're pushing it on TV. Now they're pushing it in mainstream media. That's why I don't like it. But if people want to do it, if people want to settle with it, it's fine. But just don't push the agenda up.
Hey, bro, Chad, do you have a family? Let me ask you a question. Do you have a family?
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean family?
A family like a wife and children?
No, I'm single, sir.
Okay. One day you aspire to having a family. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if you're going to raise a family today, there's no way that you will want your children exposed to the wickedness that are in these cities today when people are having gender challenges. When you send your children to a public school and the boys are kissing on boys and laying with boys and talking about being with boys and the girls with girls. And if we're going to keep our sanity today, that means we're going to have to depart and get away from these people and let the fire rain down on these people and destroy these people because they were meant to be destroyed.
Okay. Sorry, I got quiet there, folks. Yeah. All right.
It's a lot to take in.
Go ahead. No, but I mean, I think we're gonna disagree on that. People can be, saved, or people can have whatever views they want to. I'm just saying that I just don't want the agenda pushed. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, that's a bit extreme. But if that's what you say, that's what you say.
Well, hey, I'm actually quoting Leviticus 18:22 that says, "Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination." Now, all my perspective and viewpoints is coming strictly from the Bible and from itself and historical facts that is clearly outlining for us and telling us exactly what the Bible says. And this is the problem. When people are lacking spirituality today, they are lacking in righteous judgment. And when you're lacking in righteous judgment, then you're very apprehensive about making a sound judgment of what will happen to these people, whether they decide to put it in their mind and put it in their conscience or not. But the bottom line is, I have a wife that I've been married to for 30 years in here. And when I see her, she does not possess the same tools that I have. But out of her came two of my offspring, which if I was to lay with a man, which God forbid, and I'm not ever going to do it, that would never happen. So it's obvious that when you look at nature itself, that there is something seriously wrong inside the mental psyche of man, when it gets to the point when it's hard for them to distinguish what's right and what's wrong. I go back to Yesaiah, who says that we live in a time that people will call good evil and evil good.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think that when you say things like that, people are going to take it to the extreme. People are going to say you want to kill. I'm just saying I don't want the agenda perpetrated. I'm saying do whatever you want. Just don't push that on my children or my family or anybody I know. That's what I'm saying. But what you said might be looked at as extreme. I understand your point of view and what you're saying, but many on the left will say you want to just kill them, and that's what should happen. So I'm just putting that out there.
Well, the Bible says, and your perspective is a political viewpoint, because it's kind of straddling the fence and straddling the line. And you're right. I can't control, just like you, what people are going to do in their life. If they choose to go out there, and if they want to lie with a man, have fun, have at it, get it. But know this: after you get finished with this life, there's a place called the lake of fire that people are going to burn in. Now, whether they hear or forbear, that's the difference between you and I. You're a reporter, I'm a preacher. So well, I'm charged to shout it from the rooftop. Whether they hear or forbear, it makes no difference to me. I'm here to tell them what the truth is according to the law of the creator of the universe, and I'm here to
exactly right.
and to let these people know that if they don't repent and turn from these wicked ways, then their destination is the lake.
You're right. I understand. Most preachers don't even preach that, so I'm glad that you're honest with your viewpoint. And I'm with you. I disagree, but I just think going to that extreme is just, just a little extreme. But I understand completely with your with what you say and what you believe, and we're on the same page when it comes to going against the agenda, though. Just not, burning hell that. But
well, I will give you an example here.
Go ahead.
That was a place that if people believe in the Bible is obvious, called Sodom and Gomorrah. And
yes, Sodom and Gomorrah, yes.
Yeah, these people wanted to have sex with the angels. And Abraham, he was petitioning with the Almighty Yahweh and stuff. If there was 50 righteous, 40 righteous, 30 righteous, went all the way down. And then the Most High just finally said, hold on. And he says, he's going to do what he's going to do. So anyway, he went there, he sent down angels to see, just for himself, to see if it was the wickedness of the cry of the city came up for him, it was true. And these people wanted to lie with man or angels as they did with woman. And the facts on the table is this, is that the creator of the universe burned Sodom, and Gomorrah means the surrounding cities that aspirations to this same agenda or this same perspective, burned them with fire and brimstone. Now, that is not my opinion. That's not my
That's in the Bible. And then I believe, I forgot who's Abraham's son's cousin or son's wife left behind. She turned to a pillar of salt. I know that story.
Exactly. Right. And Lot's wife turned to a pillar of salt because she looked back at this city being burnt. And that's what I'm telling you is getting ready to happen to America and all the other nations that have adopted this perspective and viewpoint.
Greetings to each and every last one of you. Hey, this is Pastor Dowell. I appreciate you listening here tonight to Blog Talk Radio, and I appreciate your continued support and the letters that you send to me. However, the listening audience is growing, and there are more people interested in helping me get the truth out. If you would like to support me in these endeavors to help advance the kingdom of the Most High Yahweh, I have some information for you. For your correspondence or letter support, you can send all correspondence to Pastor Charles Dowell. That is Pastor Charles Dowell, D-O-W-E-L-L. Dowell is spelled D-O-W-E-L-L Jr. That's 632 Highway 52 Bypass West, PMB number 1. PMB number 1, Lafayette, Tennessee, 37083. Let me give you all that information again. You can send all your correspondence and your letter of support to Pastor Charles Dowell Jr. And Dowell is spelled D-O-W-E-L-L at 632 Highway 52 Bypass West, PMB number 1, Lafayette, L-A-F-A-Y-E-T-T-E, Tennessee, 37083. Our community phone number is country code 1-615-688-3025. That is country code 1-615-688-3025. If you choose to send a free will offering, please send it in either a money order or a check form. A money order or a check form. If you choose to send cash, in the mail. You may want to put some type of insurance on it, or you may want to wrap it up real good and tight and get some type of delivery confirmation in order to ensure that your particular offering gets to me. Hey, I appreciate each and every last one of you that are listening, and I hope that you're growing in grace, truth, and knowledge as we hasten towards the day of the soon-coming King, Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Hey, y'all be encouraged, and I'll see you Shabbat morning. Be the Father's will is my prayer at www.online-church.org, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's every Sabbath morning at www.online-church.org. Y'all be encouraged. Continue to keep listening and tell others about this particular radio broadcast so that we can all continue to keep growing together. Y'all be encouraged. The King is coming. Shalom.
All right, are you ready to answer some callers right quick before I go to the next topic?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Marilyn, you're on the air.
How's it going, Chad?
How you doing, Mr. Jared?
Hanging in there. How you doing, man? How you doing, Pastor?
I'm blessed of the Most High and highly favored. Yourself, sir?
I can't complain, man. Hanging in there one day at a time. Yeah, you and Chad cover a lot of topics, man, over the last hour or so. Yeah, I don't want to take too much time. I know you're going to give the calls on the show. Just had a question regarding...
No, I only have another caller. You have time to ask me questions or say your piece. I only have another caller on there.
Yeah, okay, cool. My question is in regards to the, I think Pastor Dowell was saying something in regards to the, overt, white on white crime and black on black crime. He was saying something in respect that there's just as much white people killing white people as there's blacks killing black people. But according to the FBI Census Bureau, there's actually 12 white people killed by blacks than it is a black killed by a white person in America. And we look at, as far as any major city in America, from east to west coast, north and south, you have a lot of blacks killing blacks at alarming rates every day. And of course, I'm talking right now, there's someone killed in the Black America community by another black American. So my question is, if we believe in the Bible when it says, Romans 8:28 says, that God before us, who could be against us? My question is, how come we don't practice that scripture where we believe that no matter what type of demonic force or arrow or devices that are thrown our way as Christians, we believe and we know that if God before us, who would be against us? But when it comes out to the current day reality situation that we see and day-to-day activities, people will say, well, it's some type of system in place to keep us at bay, or keep us from economic and social mobility. You understand what I'm saying about that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand exactly what you're saying. Number one, it has to do with the curses that are perpetuated in the Bible. And if you are a Christian, then you hold a different perspective and a viewpoint than I do as an Israelite, because I'm not a Christian. I am an Israelite. I'm a Hebrew, and I'm an Israelite. So therefore, my perspective and viewpoint of the scripture more or less comes from the same advantage as Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and David. Yahweh is the one who said in the Psalms that he is a man of war. And what we've got going on today is that people who have lost their way, who do not know their heritage, and who do not understand exactly what's going on. And the reason why the people today are in trouble is because the people who they have set up as community leaders and preachers and teachers are totally ignorant of the facts and totally ignorant of the truth that is going on today. And as far as we that are killing ourselves, you have to understand, when we've only had so much presented to us as far as information, and we've had 400 years of chattel slavery to where we end up behaving contrary to what nature has given us. And let me give you a contrast here. When we look out into nature, we see that animals run in pack, and this is just nature. And we can look at either the lion kingdom or the wolf kingdom or whatever kingdom you want to look at. We see that these people, they understand what it means by order and protection. But the one thing we never see is that these people are turning against their own selves, or these animals turning against their own selves. You will have lions fighting for supremacy to see who will be the chief one in that particular tribe. But when you have human beings going out and murdering each other who are of the same color or the same nation or the same race, I think there's a whole lot more that is going on than what meets the eye natural. I think there's something psychological going on, because what is happening today with black-on-black crime is something outside of the scope of nature.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jerry.
So, in regards to what he just said, in that regard, I'm sorry about the, I guess the faith. I thought you're a Christian, but you're an Israelite. I'm sorry about that. So you're saying, as far as, like, I guess people can't be totally accountable for their actions as far as the mass killings and various actions that they do in their community, because there's some type of, I guess, more or less inherited behavior that was passed down through slavery?
This is exactly what I'm saying. For instance, let me give you another example and paint another picture here. We grew up in the land of Shem. We had laws, statutes, and commandments. And the only reason why that we're in the condition that we're in today is because our ancient people chose to disobey those laws, statutes, and commandments. So therefore, the Most High raised up our enemies, just like the prophecy says in the Bible, against us. So what has happened was we were taken out of our land, brought to another land. And for 400 years, we've been whipped, we've been beaten, and we've been stripped of knowledge of self. We don't know who we are, our culture, our heritage, our nationality, everything that used to be in us has now been taken away from us. And now we have the man who was our captors teach us who we are and tell us that we don't amount to nothing. They paint an image and put a white Jesus up on the board or up on the wall and tell us that is our God. And so how do you get a people to begin to believe who they are as a people? You're not looking at a people that has been educated. You're dealing with a people today that has been trained and manipulated. And when we've been trained and when we have been manipulated from the people who we are to be, it's impossible for us to recognize right from wrong based on the agenda that has been put before us. That's the reason why the Most High Yah said that I will raise up and I will give you, according to Jeremiah 3:15, pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. That's a knowledge of self, a knowledge of culture, a knowledge of heritage, a knowledge of nationality, a knowledge of who you are, so we can come out of this condition that has been given to us from a whip and a lash.
But see, what I disagree with, because I agree that the whole white Jesus imagery was pushed. I agree with you. Now, but what I disagree with is that it's inherited in us to do that, because we had people like Marcus Garvey, Madam C.J. Walker, Booker T. Washington. We have black people actually building and actually doing things in the community. So I just disagree that the black-on-black murder and violence is inherited. That's the only thing I disagree with it, because there are stats and research that have said the black family and the black structure what made it through slavery, Jim Crow, and everything like that. So that's the only thing I disagree with you. But I do agree with you about the white Jesus image that is being pushed in certain churches and pastors.
And also,
actually, you may think that you have a
Go ahead, Pastor Dow. I'll let Jared talk, but go ahead, Pastor Dow.
Okay, actually, you may think that you have a disagreement, but the truth is you don't. And the reason being is because you're dealing with a very few people in their generation, in their time, that are awake. For instance, look at our generation today. Look at how many people that really, truly are awake and understand. So, see, what we have in history is the people like Marcus Garvey, the people like laid, and we people like myself, as well as a few other people in our generation, we are the chosen few people that are awake. But when you look at the condition of our people as a whole, we're still sound asleep.
No, but I'm talking about even during that time, even the generation that didn't even have any money, the family structure was still there. That's all I was trying to say.
Yes, sir. I understand what you're saying.
Right. So my question is, do you believe we all, as people, we have 24 hours in a day? Pastor Dowell?
Yes, sir. I'm listening to your question.
Yes. I said based upon today's society, do you believe that everyone has 24 hours in a day?
Yes, and it's up to us to make the most of each and every day as we can.
Correct. Because like Chad was saying a little bit in the earlier show, and I'm just going to kind of piggyback off what he said. You can actually look at as far as history and see people who actually flourished during more overt oppression and racism and discrimination 80 to 100 years ago in America. They have far worse conditions than we see today. But the thing is, I think a lot of people spend too much time worrying about the glass being half empty and the glass being half full, meaning that they have like a defeatist mindset. Because that's why the Bible says, if you look at Romans 12, it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Because if your mind, if you look at a situation and you see it as a pessimistic outlook, saying that you're already defeated, you can't even begin to become you can't become a conqueror in this situation, because your mind's already told you that you're defeated. So no matter if you tell them, I tell them, Chad tells them, the whole world can tell them that they're going to be successful if they go down the right road, because the mind has already told their spirit man or spirit woman that they're defeated. They can't do that certain task. Then your words, not words, are going to fall upon deaf ears. That's why you notice how back, if you look at the scripture back in the Old Testament, when Moses had the spies go out to look at the promised land, only Caleb and Joshua had a positive report. The other spies said that they were like giants in the land, and they said they were like caterpillars, like grasshoppers, looking at the people who actually were currently in that land of milk and honey, the promised land. They saw the people as being inferior to their taking over the land. So I say that to say this to you and Chad, that no matter what your situation may be or looking at in today's society, if you view the glass being half empty, then half full, then by your own sense, your own mindset, you already place yourself limited by the elevation that you can possibly gain that ground.
Mr. Dowell?
Yes, sir. Actually, I agree with you 100%. And that's why I would ask, have you ever watched any of my YouTube videos?
I heard about you through the Chad Factor. I haven't watched them yet.
If you would go and watch my YouTube videos, you will see today that I am functioning as a man not defeated, but as a man that is overcoming. And not only a man that is overcoming, but a man that has had a lot of impact and a lot of inspiration upon people who are overcoming all across this land, and not only in this land, but in the world, as few as we are. But that's what I say. We have to educate ourselves, because if we don't really truly understand the person who is talking and know a little bit about them, then it's hard for us to understand where he is going and what he's talking about in reference to us being overcomers in his world. Because I'm not talking about a defeatist mentality whatsoever at all. Because if you peer into my life and you look into my lifestyle, which is an open book, easily to be read of all men, and sitting out there on YouTube, you will see I'm not a black man that's set up there belly aching, murmuring, griping, and complaining about the oppression of a white man. But when you look at my YouTube videos and see what I'm doing with the community as well as this little small Israelite nation, we are overcoming, because we're not making excuses about our condition, because we have repented and come up out of that condition, and y'all is making us the head slowly but surely and not the tail.
Exactly right. Jared, any more thing? I got to let another caller in, but any more you want to say to Mr. Dowell?
Yeah, just going back to just one more question. So do you believe that there's a situation with police brutality, or do you think it's overhyped by the media?
I think that the media is doing everything that they can possible to cause a genocide right here in our own country.
So you're saying that it's over-exaggerated by the media?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe that 100%. This is about racism. This war is about racism because, remember, the old adage, according to war tactics, is conquer and divide. The last thing that this country wants is the people of this country is to be united. If we are united, then we can't fall. But if we are divided, then we're going to fall. That's the reason why I went earlier talking about the rich and the poor. The politicians, these are all rich men. And the rich men are the people who are oppressing us. It's not each other, but they have to teach us to actually function outside of the scope of our human nature to love each other. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're playing on the old evil, Adamic nature of man and are pitting us one against the other using psychological warfare. That's why I keep saying over and over again that this is not education. This is training. To get people to behave the way that they're behaving today, you can't be an educated people. You have to be a people that is trained. You have to be like a lion that is born. You know, there's a difference between a circus lion and a lion that is born in the wild. You see, the lion that is born in captivity in the circus, the master can whip him on his back and make him roar, jump up on a stool, tell the lion to open up his mouth and stick his head inside of the lion, and the crowd will applaud. But a lion that is free, that is born in the wild, he ain't going to jump up on no stool. He is not going to get hit by any whip and not chew up that master and kill him and eat him for lunch after death because he is born free. It's the difference in attitude. It's the difference in spirit. And I'm trying to teach the people who listen to me how to be free as a people because we're not circus lions, but we're free.
All right.
I think just one more thing before Chad goes to the next caller. I think it also is a matter of people rely upon the fish being given to them versus learning how to fish for themselves. Because, like, at a certain period of time, like I was saying, another Chad Factor show, once you become a man or a woman, you become chronologically grown. You have to take whatever was given to you by your parents or your guardians or your family and your community. You have to make a way for yourself to become the person that you are going to be in this lifetime today. The problem is too many people are dependent upon someone giving them a fish that they'll stand on the same corner or the same place waiting for someone to drop them a handout versus them learning for themselves to do for themselves. Because, like, you know, if you believe in the law of sowing and reaping, you can't reap if you don't sow, which means that you can have the belief that you're going to receive a harvest from your investment, but if you don't plant the seed, if you don't do the physical work, then you can't reap the spiritual results. You know, too many times I think we're more concerned with the spiritual process of the harvest, and we don't do enough of a physical as a society today. We don't do enough physical work.
Right.
That's why I say over and over again, go back and listen to my YouTube channel, and you will see that I'm a man that teaches people how to fish.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right, South Nevada, you're on the air.
Yes, Pastor Dowell, first I want to thank you. I've been watching your videos for more than 4 years. Even though I may not agree with everything that you say, I do agree with almost every part of the things that you say. And what I wanted to, I have several questions because I know that you are a community builder and you're about self-sufficiency. You teach the people on your land how to grow vegetables, fruit, how to harvest, how to grow animal or raise animals and butcher animals that are GMO free, that are free of antibiotics and all kinds of filth. And I appreciate that you teach those type of things because there's not too many pastors out there that do that, and the fact that you are teaching the truth about being able to defend yourself and being a Second Amendment, pushing Second Amendment and fighting for Second Amendment laws and stuff. And I wanted to get into two scriptures because I don't believe too much about religion anymore. I used to be a Christian. I grew up as a Christian, and I became a Jehovah's Witness, and I studied a lot of different religions that were different sects of Christianity. And I wanted to get your perspective on two particular scriptures first off, and that one is one where Isaiah 2:4 says to beat your shears into your swords into plowshares and become a docile people. But that's what religion teaches, just that particular scripture. They don't go to Joel, where in Joel 3:10 says beat your plows into swords. So it tells you to go to war. So can I get your perspective on that? Why religion and the UN, the push and organized religion with the UN pushes people to be so docile and not be able to defend themselves, and that they don't teach that other particular scripture that I found on my own that religion never taught me in Joel 3:10, where it says that you do beat your plowshares into swords. So can you talk about that?
Sure I can. Yes, ma'am, and thank you very much. I can tell that you actually follow my YouTube channel because you pretty much have explained very well about what I am and who I am and what I stand for. The problem, sister, here is that, again, and let me say this, you have done a good job by coming out of religion, because I'm not a religious man myself. I'm a man of faith. And there's a difference between religion and faith. Psalms 144 verse 1 says, "Blessed be Yahweh my strength, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight." Now the confusion is when these people go over and they're so quick to quote Isaiah or Yesaiah chapter 2 verse 4, is that they're not understanding that the content of what is being spoken of. The context is talking about the kingdom. When you read verse 3, it says, "And many people shall go up and say, Come, ye, and let us go up into the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the Yah of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways." That is when the Most High Yah, Yahshua HaMashiach himself, is going to come down and set his feet on the Mount of Olives. That is in the time in the kingdom. And so what they do is they confuse the matter of being in the kingdom when these things are going to take place, when we are not going to be warned in the kingdom, as opposed to right now, when we should be defending and protecting ourselves. So these people are confused, and I think that your perspective is spot on, sister.
Thank you. Like I said, I studied the Bible with religion for over 25 years, and then once I got out of religion and started to read the scriptures by myself, then I was enlightened to other aspects of divine creation and how that what religion is teaching is false.
You got that right.
And I wanted you to speak on how organized religion nowadays, especially, i.e. Christianity, plays into the scope of the New World Order and the UN. Could you tell us about that?
Well, yes, ma'am. First of all, people need to understand that Jesus, who was known as Yahshua HaMashiach, was not a Christian. The book, the Bible, which is the best-selling book in the world today and still is today, these were not Christian people. People need to understand that Christianity is a creation of Rome. And Rome is still all of the European nations that we are got the foot on the back of our neck today, which is i.e. America, Great Britain, Australia, Russia, and all the other people of European descent. And when people are getting Christianity mixed up simply because of translation, because they see the word written in the Bible 3 times Christian, and they refuse to see that these people were Hebrews, is going to bring about confusion. And these people are being used as a tool. I personally believe that Christianity is the greatest deception and the greatest tool of Satan that there ever has been. Remember, he's a deceiver, and he has to deceive. How in the world can you get a people who say that they read this Bible believe that there's such thing as a damn Santa Claus? How can they believe that a rabbit lay eggs and Sunday is the Sabbath unless they have been trained and not educated? These people have never been taught self-autonomy. You have exercised independent thinking, so therefore you can think outside of the box that they have created for us, and you can read and comprehend for yourself, and therefore the light has been turned on in your head, and you've got very good understanding. And I wouldn't dare ever in my lifetime, now that I've come to the knowledge of the truth, recommend that anybody pay any attention to anything that anybody who professes to be a Christian has to say, simply because they are a deceived people. So I commend you. I commend you 100% for being able to be awoke. I commend you not only that, sister, but having the eyes to see and the ears to hear, but not only that, the heart to actually have the strength to follow the truth, and the truth, which is the law in Yahweh that has set you free. And I would hope that you will continue to keep listening to me.
I do. I watched the video and I commented on the video where the man, I forget what his name, the football player had beat his son, which we all grew up getting whoopings. I mean, most normal Americans we've got whoopings. I mean, we got severe whoopings too if we did something severe. But this particular man has his perspective completely wrong because he beat a child that's not even old enough to even really fully understand what he's beating him for. He beat a child who was basically a little more than a baby. Mm-hmm. And then when he went to court, this is what is there. Everything is twisted in the court system in America, and everything is twisted when it comes to a lot of righteous judgment, because this particular man said that he would not have anything else to do with this son that he beat as long as he can continue to play football. He disregarded his obligation to raise his son just so that he can go back and play football. What do you think about that?
Sister, I think that your perspectives are spot on. But the man that you're talking about is Adrian Peterson, who just happened to be one of the best running backs in the NFL today. And notice I said one of the best running backs, not one of the best representatives of the Hebrew faith, but one of the best running backs. What you're dealing with, again, and I keep on saying it, and I will say it again and again and again, you're dealing with a people who have been trained and not educated. And he is a prime example. He is telling you, when he says that, in that statement, football is a very violent sport. Do you understand that, sister?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, very violent sport. So when he says that he's not going to deal with this child as long as he's playing football, he's actually doing a justice and not an injustice, because he's trying subliminally to send a message to everybody out there, because this was the same man that said that we are all on the slave market being marketed and sold when it comes to this sport right here. And that's the reason why you hear me at times speak against sports right here. But at the same time, his problem is he is snared by money, because he makes so much money. He is snared by it that money has become his God. And because it's his God, it's going to be his downfall. And that's what our people have to wake up to and wake up from. The Bible says in Proverbs 22:15, foolishness is bound in the heart of the child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. I agree with you. There's times that children should be chastened according to their age. But these people are without people with understanding. These people have no understanding whatsoever at all. They have no leaders. They have no guides in this wicked country that we've been brought up in. And that's why I continue to say, come out of her, my people, because all we're going to do is continue to keep acting like the people. Now, listen to me. I'm going to say something that's very inflammatory here. Okay, sister?
Okay.
That's okay.
I'm getting ready to say something here. What you see that man do is the same thing that is entrenched in his spirit, in his soul. The slave masters beat us the same way, and that's the only correction that he knows, because he hasn't ran across somebody like Pastor Dowell that can teach him the right way to chasing his child, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
I'm so glad that you're a sister of understanding. I didn't have to go any further to break that down, because most people, their sister went right over their head.
I can name on like 5 fingers how many times that my father had to get a corporal punishment to us. And
right.
on those 5 times, we deserve every single one of them. It is something that we did. We weren't innocent in getting a beating. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
We definitely deserved the corporal punishment we got when we got it.
No, when my dad and my mom got me, I deserve every bit of it. And not only that, I will say what the scripture says. I was not rewarded according to the transgression that I done. Thank y'all for mercy. But you're spot on.
I think that a lot of parents have it twisted, because there are some children that all you have to do is speak to them and correct them with speech, and they're fine. They're good to go.
True.
There's nothing else needed.
True.
But there are some children, speech doesn't do anything for them. They don't listen to speech. It takes a higher level of something to change their mind.
But do you
know?
Now
you got teachers fighting students, students fighting teachers now, man.
But do you know that?
It's getting real tough. It's happening in Baltimore.
But do you know the reason why that is, sister?
Tell me.
The reason why that is because those who are the first line teachers and those who are in authority, they have not. If they didn't have any respect, they lost all respect. And what I mean by that is this. I'm a pastor. I live on this community. If I say something one time to these children, you know that they got it, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
They know if Pastor Dowell says something to them, he correcting them, that is it, it's over with. But if you have a parent that has to tell you something 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and there's nothing following behind it in correction, these people or these children have lost all respect for those who are in authority. Because these people don't mean what they say and say what they mean. I can tell you, the last time that I actually have chastened a child on this community myself, I probably did it once in the last 5 years. Now think about that.
Yeah. In the last 5 years, that's good direction right there. Lynette, I want to get him in 3 things right quick, 3 topics, because it's actually almost time for him to go. Can you spend about 10 or so minutes with us talking about these 3 things? I know we said an hour and 30, but can you spend 10 more minutes?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. Well, 3 things I want to go over. And the first thing, I was listening to Ron Paul on Russian TV America, and I like watching that. I know you like to watch that too. He was saying that the Ebola scare is worse than the disease itself, and I think it is worse because they're going to push these vaccines. They're going to get everybody scared. And I want to know why people are saying it's a patent and it could kill people when people have been affected. What do you think? Is Ebola worse, or are the scare and the vaccines going to be worse, Mr. Dowell?
Well, I actually agree with Ron Paul, and I'll tell you the reason why I agree. I agree for this simple fact right here, and I'm going to go back to the scripture again. Revelation 13:16, and he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand on their forehead. Now I'm going to center my attention on, and he calls us all. You see, the Ebola thing is a scare tactic, fear, because people can easily be controlled and manipulated through fear. And the reason being is because fear brings uncertainty. And when people are uncertain about a condition or what's getting ready to take place, or they're ignorant of the facts, then these people will begin to move. For instance, look how many people every single year rush to the drugstore, rush to the doctor, rush to the pharmacy to take a flu shot just to get the flu that they have created in the lab.
Exactly.
Pastor Dowell is not going to be manipulated. Like Pastor Dowell haven't had a flu shot since I left the military in 1994.
And doesn't the flu shot get you sicker than actually getting the flu?
Exactly. And that's the same thing that is going on today. They're using this fear tactic to keep people in control. But remember, Yah has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind.
All right, thank you for discussing that. I know there's people that said that it's going to be a barrier, that there's thousands of people getting killed, and I hear that it has been here since 1973. But I've actually heard that AIDS and other diseases have killed way more people, but the effects of Ebola are worse. So I'm not going to say it's an all-out fake disease or that things are happening, but I'm just saying that it's not going to be a pandemic at people. It's not going to be like Man of Legend or Outbreak, but it's going to be a very, very big scare tactic. Or it could be a scare tactic to shield another disease, either or. But
greetings to each and every last one of you. Hey, this is Pastor Dowell. I appreciate you listening here tonight to Blog Talk Radio, and I appreciate your continued support and the letters that you send to me. However, the listening audience is growing, and there are more people interested in helping me get the truth out. If you would like to support me in these endeavors to help advance the kingdom of the Most High Yahweh, I have some information for you. For your correspondence or letter support, you can send all correspondence to Pastor Charles Dowell. That is Pastor Charles Dowell, D-O-W-E-L-L. Dowell is spelled D-O-W-E-L-L Jr. That's 632 Highway 52 Bypass West, PMB number 1. PMB number 1, Lafayette, Tennessee, 37083. Let me give you all that information again. You can send all your correspondence and your letter support to Pastor Charles Dowell Jr. And Dowell is spelled D-O-W-E-L-L at 632 Highway 52 Bypass West, PMB number 1, Lafayette, L-A-F-A-Y-E-T-T-E, Tennessee, 37083. Our community phone number is country code 1-615-688-3025. That is country code 1-615-688-3025. If you choose to send a free will offering, please send it in either a money order or a check form. A money order or a check form. If you choose to send cash in the mail, you may want to put some type of insurance on it, or you may want to wrap it up real good and tight and get some type of delivery confirmation in order to ensure that your particular offering gets to me. Hey, I appreciate each and every last one of you that are listening, and I hope that you're growing in grace, truth, and knowledge as we hasten towards the day of the soon-coming King, Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Hey, y'all be encouraged, and I'll see you Shabbat morning. Be the Father's will is my prayer at www.online-church.org, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's every Sabbath morning at www.online-church.org. Y'all be encouraged. Continue to keep listening and tell others about this particular radio broadcast so that we can all continue to keep growing together. Y'all be encouraged. The King is coming. Shalom.
Thank you. Thank you for giving your perspective. But the second thing I want to get, have you ever watched the show Scandal?
No, sir.
All right. Well, Scandal is a show, and I watch it. A lot of people disagree with it. I I do disagree with the whole affair thing. You know, cheating, president cheating on his wife and everything. You know, and I usually watch this show because I want to see the corruption of government and how bribes and how everything is taken. I like how they show that. But there was a scene in which the president's daughter actually had a threesome with two boys, and they were trying their absolute best to get rid of this tape, and that they found the parents of one of the boys that was in the threesome, but they were trying to bribe the president of the United States to give them the money, and then on the backhand they didn't want to accept the $2.5 million, so they decided to get $500,000, but then they got blackmailed themselves for even trying to release this tape. So my perspective on this, and it's not even about the show, it's about people who make sex tapes in general. Do you think that if the sex tape gets out, do you think you should feel sorry for them, or do you think it's their own doing? Of the girl who was in it, or who did the threesome, or who was in the sex tape with a boyfriend? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to comment on a show that because I don't have a TV signal on his land, so I don't know anything about the show. But based on the information that you gave me, you're looking at a decline in morality and a decline in spirituality. And the Bible says pride goeth before destruction and a Holy Spirit before a fall. And you're dealing in the arena of Satan whenever these things are going out. I mean, these people, this is the way they are conditioned, and this is the way that they do things. And so the bottom line is you can't commit sin and expect to come out unscathed. So that's the bottom line. You know, whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. And that would be my answer based on the information that you have given.
Yeah, because I'm just saying, I mean, you expect, I mean, if you get mad or if something happens, you don't expect the guy or girl to release your photos or release your sex tape. I wouldn't even do it in the first place. If you just want to have, you know, relationships and sex, just do it. But don't videotape it. Don't think that it's going to go anywhere where something might happen. If you have it on iCloud, even if you have it on your video, your phone, you know, something might happen. It doesn't matter how safe you keep it. I just wouldn't even do it in the first place. I don't know why people can't get this.
Well, you know, people have desires. And a lot of times, you know, desires, when you're in the heat of the moment, they communicate louder than common sense. But you're dealing with envy. And envy, you know, pride goes before destruction and the Holy Spirit before a fall. But who can stand before envy? That's pretty much what you're describing right here. Because envy has ill will and harvests ill will, and it will not be satisfied with any ransom that you give it. So somebody is out to make somebody's head spin no matter what. And they don't have any shame. And that's the problem that we're having today. There are things, and I'm 48 years old, there are things that I've done in my life that I am literally ashamed of that I would never repeat again to anybody in this life. And I think that that's what we lost today, is that the people today literally don't have shame for things that they've done.
Yeah, I mean, there's sex tape movies coming out. There's movies about people doing it. I'm just saying, if you want to avoid that trouble, just don't videotape or do anything. Just keep that moment private. Don't even do it. I mean, what's the point of videotape?
Well, the only thing I can think of, unless somebody turns around and has some type of fetish where they want to go back and try to relive the moment, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of today. That's what people do. Hey, to each his own, but it's not for me.
I know it's each his own, but I just wish people would just have common sense.
Hey, but you're dealing with an uncommon generation.
All I'm saying is, if something happens, or I just don't feel sorry for the stuff that gets linked out. That's all I'm saying. So you got all these photos with your thing out, with your breast, your penis, you know, everything out. Just don't do that. Hey, don't have pictures of doing it.
Hey, I'm with you 100%. I'm not against you in this. I'm with you 100%.
I'm just saying, going at the society that's making these laws going against revenge porn, everything like that. I understand that how it's wrong, but don't post it. It just gets on my nerves.
Yes, sir.
But the final thing I want to talk about before you go is what you have to do to basically house a community. I saw you after the tabernacle, and you were cleaning and plucking chickens. You were doing natural chickens, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So how do you basically get the natural chicken? How do you preserve your community? What skills and attributes do you need to always be self-sufficient and do for yourself? What skills? How do you get the organic chicken or food or meat in general? How do you do all that? Sure.
Well, first of all, to make it real simple, number one, you need to get around people who know what they're doing. And when I first moved to this community, I could not nail a 2x4 together. But I learned all these skills while being out here. And as the years go by, the Most High y'all added other people who understood a little bit more things, other things I experienced. I read books, and I went out and did it. I read books, and went out and did it on my own. And then when we got to the point where we are today, it's simply because of trial and error. We're working as quickly as we can to become totally self-sufficient of this particular, grid in this country in order to live a quiet and peaceful life. But I would say more than anything, Chad, you have to have a willing mind and a willing spirit to want to learn and do. You have to position yourself. Put yourself under the tutelage and under the authority of those who are willing to teach you all of these necessary skills in order for you to learn so that you can learn how to do it yourself. And that's what we are lacking greatly in this world today is humility. And it's amazing. But, I'm so happy that the Most High y'all has given me a community of people who love the Most High and love them with all their heart. And I have a wonderful family here. And I wouldn't give no natural family or any family in the world for any one of them because they're all beautiful people. And we're a collective in one mind, one heart, one soul, and one spirit. And we all have one agenda. We want to live a quiet and peaceful life while we're here, doing everything we can to make sure we preserve our life, our children's life that are coming by after us, and then inherit the kingdom. That's
So basically you're saying have people teach you the skills to cut wood, to do a 2x4. What do you mean by a 2x4? You mean a car? What do you mean by a 2x4?
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. See, a 2x4 is a piece of wood.
Okay.
That's normally measured in 2x4, but when you go to the store and buy it, it's either 1.5 by 3.5 or 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. By the time they get finished milling it down. These 2x4s are what are used in framing of houses. And when I say I didn't know how to nail a 2x4 together, I'm basically telling you is that I didn't know how to build a house.
Build a house.
Today, Pastor Dowell is a mason. I'm not only that, I can frame a house. I can lay blocks. I can lay brick. I can build a house from the ground up. I can operate a backhoe, a track hole, a loader dozer. I can do plumbing. I can frame the house and do the roof. I can do the shingles. I can build custom cabinets. I can run the electric and all this stuff I didn't know how to do when I first got here. But now that I'm out here on the land, and I had to do it because I didn't have money to pay other people to do it, and I learned by trial and error.
Right.
That's what I mean by I did not know how to nail a 2x4 together because I'm going back to the basics of my teaching. Now I can do more than nail a 2x4 together. I can build a
So you're saying you can do more than that, but you have to go there to learn that. So do you recommend people learning how to build their own houses? Do you recommend a site called tinyhomes.com? Ever heard of Tiny Homes?
Yes, sir. I've heard of tiny homes, but I will recommend that people learn how to get skilled in themselves and learn how to, and go out and buy some rural land. Then they won't have to worry about a tiny home because think about this. The average home that you see on the street, let's just say a 1,200 square foot home. The building materials for that home and everything that encompasses that home is no more than maybe $45,000, $50,000.
Okay.
But by the time they get finished tacking on the building fees, the labor, and everything else, and the laws and everything else that has to do with it, you're going to pay $127,000 for that home, and then you're going to spend the next 30 years paying for that home.
Oh no, I get it, but I mean, isn't tiny homes different because you can actually build that though?
But that's what I'm saying. You have to follow my train of thought. The amount of money that you would normally spend in buying a tiny home, you could build a larger home. Because in order to have a tiny home, most of these tiny homes are homes that are built on trailers, mobile devices. And by the time you get finished with all that and learning all that, what you have to do is you could build a bigger home and still call it a tiny home, but have a greater capacity of living space.
Okay. All right. I can see that. But I'm just saying for all the people who are single or maybe, have a wife and not any kids yet, that's something for right now for people not to pay bills. But you're saying that there's a way you can elevate and build it higher.
Let me tell you something. About 15 years ago, I made a prophecy here. I said that America is going to be a third world country. And it's happening right before our very eyes. We're watching our purchasing power diminish. People do not know what sound money is no more. We're watching our social, political, and economic perspective and viewpoints disintegrate right in front of our very eyes. Our nation as we have known it, y'all not going to grow up in the same society that I grew up in. So you have to be smart enough to make sound decisions and be able to see the writing on the wall and make changes that would affect you and your family in a positive way, because if you continue to do the same things that you've always done and you operate after this normacy bias and this cognitive dissonance that seems to be an epidemic in this country right here, you are destined to fail.
Right, we do the same things. History repeats itself. Last thing, and you talked about this in your video while you were doing the chickens and cutting the chickens and doing what it needs to do. How, in general, not just about chickens, but in general, do you have to grow and make your own or do your own meat to see if it's organic? Because it is true that Whole Foods is kissing up to Monsanto right now. Is that true?
I wouldn't agree with anything that is sold in the stores, period, whatsoever at all. The only thing that I know that is organic is the things that I can grow my own self. I plant the seed, I cultivate the soil, I plant the seed, I water it, and Yah gives the increase, then I know it's organic. When I turn around in a cow, I take it from the pasture on the pasture land that I sowed in the seed in order to grow fescue or even rye for them to eat off of, whether it be winter rye or Kentucky fescue or clover. When I see those cows eat that and stuff, and then when I butcher them, I kill them, I butcher them, I know it's organic because I personally have been able to monitor every step of their life every single day. That's the only thing that I would trust in that is certified.
Because you're doing it and because you see it.
There you go. You got it, Chad. You got it.
So farmers markets are bad too, completely off the table as well?
Not unless you know the people who are actually there, who's selling the produce at the farmers market, unless you've actually been out there, walked on the land, viewed and see the process that they use. You're at the mercy of whatever they say.
All right. Well, I agree with you heavy that you need to grow and do your own food. I think I'm going to do something like that. Now, it's harder for me to hunt. I need to go to rural areas so I can hunt and actually get the animals and carve them and, clean it, skin it, and everything like that. But for right now, I'm not trusting Whole Foods because I hear it's a kiss up to Monsanto. So I think farmers markets are more in my direction. But in the future, I need to do what you just said because you know what it is. You know how it looks. Just like working for yourself, you work on your own time. You know what time you work. So thank you so much, sir.
Well, let me end on this. I thank Almighty Yahweh, Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ himself, for allowing me to have this time. I thank you for allowing me to be on your radio broadcast and hope that you'll have me back sometime in the future. But I will end on this saying that comes from an old country song. We can kill a buck and we can run a trout line. A country boy can survive.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Dowell, for being on the Chat Factor. Hope we get to have you again, folks. I got a few more minutes left in the show. They ask me anything. I'm going to go on break. Thank you again, Mr. Dowell, for being on here. Have a good night.
Shalom.
Look at them looking.